In the last section, we had a quick overview on how we're going to use text fields. So now that we understand how these widgets behave, we're going to take a look at another diagram that's going to lay out how we're going to construct our block. All right, so kind of a complicated diagram here, I suppose, but we'll walk through it step by step. This is the entire process. This is how we're going to get this form working. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that it's only showing how the text fields are going to work. We're not going to talk about the actual submit button just yet. So this is just about, hey, how do we validate some input that a user has entered into one of those fields? So we've got our column widget inside of our input screen or the login screen widget. And underneath the column is our email text field and the password text field. And as we just discussed, they have those onChanged and error text name properties that we can add on to read data out and show a validation message. So we're going to create a separate Dart class that is going to serve as our block. This block is going to have two properties associated with it. It's going to have a stream controller to be responsible for that email field, and a stream controller responsible for the password field. Now, anytime a user changes, say, the email text field, that onChanged callback will be called. When that thing gets called, we're going to take that new value that was entered into the input and dump that into our email stream controller's sink. So remember, the sink is how we manually add new events into a stream. We just pass it into the sink by calling sink.add. So the sink is going to take that new text value and it's going to pass it off to the stream that is created when we make our stream controller. We're then going to create a validation transformer, just like the one we had before when we were working inside of Dartpad, working on that kind of form validation example just a couple of minutes ago. So we're going to take that new text that the user entered into the text field, we'll pass it into the stream. The text will then run through our validate transformer. If the text is valid, great, that's fine. But if it's invalid, then we're going to add an error. We'll then wire up that error property to that error text argument on our email text field. And then the entire process is going to be identical for the password text field as well. The only difference is that we'll have a slightly different validation transformer over there to make sure that in this case we have a validation for a password, so maybe some minimum length again. All right, so that's the idea. That's how we're going to approach this. So we're now going to change back over to our code editor, and we're going to get started working on this block. So I'm going to flip back over to my code editor. Inside of my src directory, I'm going to make a new folder that's going to house all the code related to this block system. So inside my src folder, I'll make another new directory, and I'm going to call it blocks, like so. Then inside there, I'm going to make a new file called simply block.dart. And then finally, inside of this new file that we just created, I'm going to create a new class called block. At the top, I'm going to import the Dart async module, because as we just discussed, we definitely know that we need to create these stream controllers. And those stream controllers are a part of the Dart async package. So I'll do Dart async at the top like so. Okay, so let's take a quick pause right here. When we come back to the next section, we're going to start to set up our two controllers and wire up the sinks and streams on both of them. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.